Okay, and we're live. Hey, I've got Mars Roberge here and Debra Haden. And Mars is the, let's see, writer and director of Mr. Sister. And Debra stars.
Executive producer and editor.
Awesome. And then Debra, you starred in there and then sang some songs, right?
Yes, I did. It was awesome.
Awesome.
I loved it.
I'll put some links in the description. Yeah. And you guys are like such a charming couple. I just love seeing you guys work together. It's so fun. So fun.
Thanks.
My history. So Mars and I, we go back till like what, 2013 or something?
Yeah, I think it was not long after I moved from New York City to Los Angeles. I moved here in 2011, February. Yeah, but I think I met you 2 years after that. So that would be about right.
Cool, cool. And you had just finished, was The Little House That Could?
Yes, documentary about the Sex and the City stylist Patricia Field and her entourage.
Cool, cool. And then next was Scumbag.
Scumbag, starring the lovely and talented Mayoko Asada. Sorry, there's been a few Japanese people in my latest films and stuff too, so I've had a hard time always remembering the names, but I don't forget the faces.
Yeah. And also,
I knew the last name was Osada, so
yes, it was. Now it's Greenwood.
Greenwood, there you go. And Debra Haden is actually Debra Roberge, but she was Debra Haden before. She was an actress before we met, so she stayed Debra Haden, and I stayed Mars Roberge.
You got your what is it, screen name, right?
Yes, I figured it might be too confusing, so
I'm actually more used to her screen name than her real name, actually, because I say it more often.
So you starred in Scumbag, right? Co-starred, right?
Yes.
In Mr. Sister. And one thing, since I'm a really insecure guy, like when in that scene in Scumbag where she was my girlfriend at the time, I think Scott blows her a kiss or something. I was like, hey, you're a little too handsome and you're a little too close. You know, and that scene was like, what, 5 seconds in the movie?
Yeah, well, you know what? That happens with Scott, but luckily Scott's always in a relationship during all of these films. he's a safe zone.
Okay,
Scott,
good.
And he's married now.
Oh, wow.
To Vera Myers, who is in her movie. So there's a theme. If you're with somebody and they're in my movie, you'll end up marrying them. So just a hint, if you anybody engaged out there, they want to make it happen, they got to bring the people and put them in my movie, and you'll be married before you know it.
So not just a writer, director, executive producer, matchmaker.
Matchmaker, yeah.
Okay, so let's get into Mr. Sister. How did this come about? You filmed in New York right before the pandemic. And then,
yeah, I'd like to say I was sleeping one night and the ceiling opened and God came and touched me through the ceiling and said, you're making this movie called Mr. Sister and it's going to be a comedy, God damn it. And we need you to make this or you're going to hell forever. And I said, holy shit, I got to do this, you know, but it was kind of like that, but I was dreaming the whole time. Mr. Sister is, so The Little House That Could was a documentary that had a lot of drag queens. It was about my past and how drag queens saved my life working at this store. And, you know, it was a loving, touching story. And then I made Scumbag, which was another part of my life where I worked at this telemarketing company that was crazy. It's almost an offensive comedy, very anti-PC, but it was a true story. And Mr. Sister is the line exactly between the two movies. So I actually take people that were in my documentary. There's 10 people. Some of them were drag queens, some of them not. And mix them in with some of the Scumbag people. And that's where the cast for Mr. Sister comes from, you know? Wow. And the jokes are very anti-PC because, well, let me tell you about the story. It's about a suicidal man from Milwaukee who's given a second chance in life in New York City, saved by the LGBTQ scene, where he gets this job just by miracle accident because he's hiding in women's clothing, happens to be in a nun's outfit. And he gets a job at a drag queen restaurant where he becomes the new host because he can out heckle the drag queens that are picking on him because he's been insulted his whole life. And somehow he gets this job as one of the main MC hosts drag queens in New York, but he's secretly straight and falls in love with Debra's character, Marie, who's a single tap dancing mom. But basically the drag queens teach the confused straight boy how to be a man. You know, they just want him to succeed in life and be happy. And he always wanted to be a glam rock singer. He has stage fright. He doesn't have the courage. You know, he learns courage from the LGBTQ scene and also love for himself. And that's what I wanted to put. So, you know, I didn't, contrary to a myth that one of my actors, Paul Alexander, said at a recent screening in New York for The Little House That Could. It's still playing around. It played at the Lower East Side Festival of the Arts. No, I was never a drag queen, and no, I didn't get a start in New York as a drag queen nun, although it is a great story. But what I did was I hung out with people like Amanda Lepore, all these famous transsexuals and drag queens that basically gave me the courage to go off and pursue music, playing bands, and continue my DJing. And that acceptance of, hey, I accept you if you accept me. I was a club kid named DJ Mars. What's that? An undead DJ that dressed like somewhere a mix between a vampire and like a raver, a graver. Gothic raver. And you know, it was just a fun scene all around. Everybody accepted each other, and because of it, there was no bounds to what we wanted to do in life. And we kind of made up our own jobs, you know. Today I'm a filmmaker covering these worlds not a lot of people knew about. And this is way before RuPaul's Drag Race was around. To be quite honest, I was looking at all these drag queen movies and drag queen TV shows. And yeah, I applaud them. It's about time, finally, like something's happening. Same with Black people, like it's a good time to be a Black person in America. But hey, at the same time, I was doing these drag queen films when they weren't even cool, you know, when I was just like, nobody's talking about this. And I made the movies because nobody was talking about it. So now it's like, you know, I'm doing things on a bigger scale with, you know, better production and stuff. So I'm like, I don't forget who worked with me. So like, I went back to that documentary and said, all right, who wants to be in this? Let's do this. And I picked some of the nicest people like Gazelle Paulo and Her Royal Highness Princess Diandra. You know, to me, they're the people that everybody might know, but everybody should know, you know, long before these TV shows were around. So, you know, I keep my films real. You saw it with Scumbag. It was all famous punk musicians from the past and that are still kicking it, you know, and then it was like, had a bit of everybody in it, you know, and I tend to cast people who are the people.
You sure did. Like I went to the rap party for Scumbag, and I met, who was it? She was an adult film actress, totally down to earth.
Nina Hartley.
Nina Hartley, yeah.
Nina, who was also in Boogie Nights. She played William Macy's wife. Okay.
And then you seem to always have all these really interesting characters around you. Like just looking at the cameos in Scumbag. So Nina Hartley was in there. Ron Jeremy was in there. Who else?
Michael Alec. It was like one of the last things Michael Alec did, who unfortunately passed at Christmas time this last year. Who else? A lot of musicians. Angela Moore from Fishbone, Keith Morris from the Circle Jerks and Black Flag, Howie Pyro from Danzig,
D.H.
Pelegro from the Dead Kennedys, Don Bowles from the Germs, Kid Congo Powers from the Cramps, and Nick Cave and everything else. So I had a lot of cool people in the film, you know, and then like I secretly have so many people in my films. Nobody has any idea, but like I had the voice of Apple, you know, all those old iPhone commercials. Well, the voice of Apple is one of the people that can't take the telemarketers calling him. Like people won't catch on to this except me, but it's like one of these secret things I like to do, you know.
Well, and I think Mars is just, you know, how the industry, the Hollywood industry is all about being diverse. And Mars doesn't have to try to be diverse. He just is diverse. He knows so many people. I've met so many people just from being around him and being near him. So It's just he gets along with so many different types of people. He doesn't have to try.
Yeah, I don't try. And people that are, from different groups of life, they know I'm serious. I might be weird, I might be a freak or whatever, but it's like I accept everybody unless they have a problem with me or whatever. Then I just try to walk away. But it also helps growing up in Scarborough, which was like the toughest borough of Canada. And where I grew up was mainly like it was half Chinese and the other half was like Jamaican, so like I knew a lot of white guys that spoke Jamaican that were like white Jamaicans and stuff, like Snow the Informer. That guy was from my neighborhood. Like, wow. So I grew up like my high school dances wasn't people dancing to Stairway to Heaven. It was people slow dancing and grinding to Shabba Ranks. Like, that's my life, so it's like when you grow up around that, it's like, hey man, I'm not going to be racist, I'm not going to and all my sister's friends were gay, the punks and stuff, so it's like I grew up around everything, so it's like I was diverse. That's I guess how you put it.
That list of cameos, my brother was really into punk when we were growing up, so that list of Black Flag and Dead Kennedys, that whole list, that was basically my teenage years you just went through.
Yeah, and you know what, like those bands, let's face it, they're not getting hits on the radio right now, but they're still as cool to me as they were 20, 30 years ago. And I think now when I approach them, they know, hey, I was a real fan, I'm not some poser. Like why else would I be hitting them up to be an actor in a movie, and they were cool, like everybody was cool. I knew they could act. I knew musicians could act. Like all I gotta do is look at so far called urban dramas, which I never understood that term, but like where do people get their actors in urban dramas? Well, they're usually up and coming rappers or up and coming R&B singers. Why? Because they have a following and they're not going to charge you like A-list Hollywood actors, and they're cool because they wouldn't be lead singers or rappers in popular things unless there was a coolness to them. And I see that, and I do the same thing with like the punk world with Scumbag. I did, and like even this new film, it's the debut acting career or acting gig for Jim Sclavunos, who plays drums in Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. And he was in Lydia Lunch and the Cramps and Sonic Youth. And the list goes on and on way before that. And, he flew from England to be in our movie, because, it's a fun thing. And I will tell you, like, people come to Hollywood with this weird dream of like, they want to make these big Hollywood movies and they want to go to meet guys in suits and pitch them their ideas and get a lot of money. This is my situation, It was like a couple weeks ago through a friend of mine that I met who sees how hard I work, that I went to South Central. Probably a pretty dangerous area, like right out of the movie Colors, like no offense, just calling it as I see it. And I had a meeting with Rick Ross, Free Ray Rick Ross, who's the producer for my next movie, because he could see in me that I'm serious. Why else would I come there to pitch in this idea? And that's my version of Hollywood, who I pitch. And I can't think of a better person. I'm like, there's a mayor of Los Angeles. It should be Rick Ross, we're working together on the next one, which I won't really give away yet. That will be like, it's going to be, it's a biopic of early rappers,
Wow.
That's all I'm going to say. And it's like early New York rappers. And cool. I'm working on that. And I'm working on I'm in a pitch contest right now for We Make Movies, pitching my friend's play, Doron Bromstein, AKA Apollo Braun. Hello. And he's in Israel right now. I made it through, hundreds of people, and I'm down to the 14 finalists competing against them and for a low budget movie in mid-October. So it's kind of like, it would be nice to get a lot of money from Hollywood and do it their way. But I want to set the precedence that if Hollywood wants me, it's going to be a Mars film and not me going and making a Hollywood film as a director. I have no interest in that.
Cool. So I was going to say, now you've cast your wife as the love interest in 2 movies, which makes you a lot more secure than I am, because like I said, when Scott blew my girlfriend a kiss in the elevator, I was like, hey, you're a little too handsome, you're a little too close. So, like,
Well, I don't know if you noticed, but I don't really have a lot of sex in my movies. But when I do, it's with other actors, you know. But I'm also like, you know, it's funny. I know all these porn stars. I had a porn star roommate at one point in my life that was like a friend of mine, you know, and it's weird. I have nothing against porn and people that do it, but I don't put that in my movies, like unless it's like needed. You know, I kind of come from the Alfred Hitchcock school of montage and editing. I want it to look artistic. So, you know, I may make campy films, but I don't make B movies. And I find a lot of gratuitous sex stuff in B movies, you know. Like I'm not even gonna say it, but like there was a certain film I saw recently that got a lot of money. It's an older film. And like was one scene where this girl's sitting on a bed, like flop open, and it really had nothing to do with the movie at all. Like it didn't need to be there at all. I think that was just
didn't move the plot.
You know what? A lot of directors do that and producers do that Harvey Weinstein thing. I don't do that. You know, I was a popular DJ and played in bands when I was young and did all the immature stuff kids do when they're younger. That's out of my system. Like, if somebody's like that with me, well, one, I'm married, but even if I wasn't, I'd be thinking, way before the Harvey Weinstein thing came up, like, oh wow, I gotta put you in a movie. It's like so much work, you know. Let me go back to writing a song and that's it, you know. Like I'm not gonna spend 4 years on a date, you know. Like it's not worth it, you know. It is not worth it, you know. They better be good actors.
Like what a waste of time. Like you see this a lot out here. The guys that they get into film to meet the girls. And I just think, wow, what a waste of time and energy when you could actually be making a film. Yeah. Or you could actually be doing the thing that would, by default, all your hard work, you would be able to pick from like the most amazing woman on the planet. But instead, there's just that weird Hollywood level of deception and weirdness. And he can spot people that are, you know, in that mode of trying to get things a certain way. Mars is very smart. Like he's not kind of, you know, by people that.
It's like when I worked at Patricia Field as a stylist, as selling clothes at the most popular store in New York, you know, I got a real sense of, okay, is this gay guy hitting on me, or is this girl interested in me, or whatever? Pretty fast, you know, pretty fast, because I was naive when I moved to New York. You know, I was going on lunch things with everybody thinking everybody was nice. Now I realized, no, I was the only nice person in New York that was super friendly from Canada. It's not the way people, they don't understand my niceness. So it's like, you know, so I started picking up on things, and I do that even with girls and stuff. And, you know, no offense if that's what they want to do, you know, if that's their roles they want to play, but it's, you know, it's how you compose yourself when you're approaching these things, that if you're worried about getting typecast as, like, say, a whore, that might be why, you know. I'm just saying. But if people are fine with that, I'm fine with that. That's what they want to do. But it's just like, you know, there's a different thing that goes on behind the scenes, you know. And for me, it's like, I honestly look around and I think, well, one, who can act, who can be told directions, who is nice. You know, some people that are really nice, I will work extra hard with them, because it's like, okay, look, I would rather have you around me for the next couple movies than that person that's a really good actor that I can't stand for more than 2 minutes, because it's a working relationship, you know. And it's an all-encompassing working relationship that doesn't end that once the cameras are done. So I'd like to think that most of my cast stay my friends, you know. At least I try, you know, to keep it like that.
So no divas in a Mars Roberge film.
It happens, you know. It happens. And the one thing is too, like it, you know, in the future, if anybody were to call me out, I'll be the first one to tell you that I might be an asshole. I might have an anger problem. I might be a slave driver, but you can't say like I'm a sexual harasser. I'm too tired to even think of that. And I'm happily married, you know. Like, please don't even try it, you know.
Right on.
Or don't try it, you know. Like, it's
I
like
will say, because I see so much behind the scenes, if people just really don't fathom how much work it is and how much work he does. So after a while, if it's the same person trying it over and over and over again, that's obviously clueless to how much work there actually is, and he's not just trying to mess you about and mess you up, like, because they a lot of actors are very clueless to what goes in it, and it costs us money every time. We could have had kids. We're not going to have kids.
It's our kids.
These are the kids. So it's like, yeah, of course he's going to stand up for his kid.
Absolutely.
You know, it's like you just went to blows with the dad. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like, you what do you expect? That's what
I will say though, like as a director, I can have heated discussions with anybody, and I'll come back and everything's fine. I don't hold grudges. The only time I have an issue with anybody for my films is if they don't show up to set. If they don't show up to set, they're dead to me forever. Like, there's nothing worse you can do than keep up our whole crew waiting around, and you can't even show up when there's 1.5 million people in Los Angeles. That, well, more than that would die to be in something. So that's the only problem I have. Yelling, I don't know. I lived in New York for 10 years. My entrance was walking into a Burger King where this guy wanted to speak to the manager and said, I have a complaint. That person was mean to me. And the manager looked at him and said, that's because we don't like you. So 10 years of living around that, I'm fine with yelling. It's just talking, it's no big deal. That's how we work it out.
Awesome.
But
so back to you guys now. How did you guys meet?
We met in a music video.
Oh yeah, we have a mutual friend. She lived in New York. She's an artist, and she went back to finish her degree, I think, or just get her master's. Was it? I don't know. But she went back to school.
Heidi Blue Girl, aka Heidi Calvert.
And I was in this music video that she shot for a school project. It was his song.
Yeah. I have a lot of music projects. I have a lot of music projects, especially in the can. We started a record label for a lot of the stuff that I worked on for like 10, 20 years, and I'm finally putting it out now. But one short-lived project I had was a kind of like a fun electronic funk project called Kondo, where I played this Egyptian pimp called Kenny Kondo, and line was "Come up to my condo." I did it in the vein of Rick James, and it was like I don't know, actually, it was a good song called Working Undercover. And my friend, and I did it with my friend Lightfinger, who helps me with production for a lot of my music. When I have time, I work on music when I'm not doing films. And, she needed a song, and I was like, well, here's a song, why don't you do something with this? So she shot a music video for her school, and Debra was in other scenes. We never met, and we ended up meeting later on, and it was like,
she wanted to throw another art party out here because she threw them in New York, and she started throwing them out here. And I'm an artist, visual artist, like I paint too. And she wanted us to throw a show with her, and he was going to DJ, and I was going to bring my part of the art. And I did like performance art things too. And so we were going to combine ourselves, but then we couldn't find the right venue. It just didn't, but that's how we met face to face. And
also to go on with her with the lead actress roles. So it's not like I audition her to play a certain part. When I'm writing the scripts, I write a script with a character with her in mind. It could be like a tap dancing singer that does dance music, that dresses like her, like 20s flapper or whatever, 40s flapper. I don't know.
20s, you're right.
Yeah. And then I think, well, she could do it because I wrote the character, which is her, so that's kind of like, it's pretty easy. And her character, as crazy as my films could get, it almost keeps the film grounded, because her characters come from the classic film Hollywood world. So that's how a lot of the films, that's how the balance happens with the films.
Awesome. Yeah. And I saw your acting chops. There's a scene in Scumbag where you're talking to the lead character, and you're saying something like, ever since you got that job, and that's in the trailer, and I just saw you burst into tears. I was like, wow, she's got acting chops. And then so I've watched that trailer like so many times, and I've tweeted it out 1 million times. I've sent it to everybody, and doing the same thing with Mr. Sister trailer now. But I love that trailer. I love the elevator scene, and then the end the dancing and singing, Are You For Real? Like, what's that song? And then I learned that you were the singer.
With Princess Frank.
Yeah, we wrote that. Actually, Frank, that whole thing, I used to work on music with my sister. We tried to start bands in like the 90s. And it never really worked out very good, or we get like someone in the band that was too scared to play out, and we go play out, and then they would like choke and not want to go on stage or whatever. And so it just didn't work. It was a grind having people together doing that. And I could hear lyrics in my sleep when I was in that mode, kind of like with clothing too. I design, like I can see pictures, I can hear music. If I want to hear it, I can shut it down too. But Frank, actually, Mars having me do that with Frank actually put me back in the mode of like writing lyrics again and hearing music again in my sleep. So that was all. And Frank wrote a lot of that song. Don't give me too much credit for it. Like, even though I received a dual award with him for something, that was Frank. He's very, very talented and a maniac, and just like starts recording all the parts. And we had Joey Marumba played the bass, and he was doing the he was the engineer, basically recording it. And I know I'm probably forgetting maybe another couple people that did some stuff for it, but
the award they got was Best Emerging Artist at 2018 for the Hollywood Film Festival, and it was on the same stage as Lou Grant. Ed Asner, who recently passed away.
It was so sad. He was so nice too. Like, it was just so sweet.
But how that came about is I was sitting in a car and I was listening. The Billy Joel song came on the radio, and I was like dancing in my head to it, and I envisioned the whole dancing on a car scene like Grease, which wasn't happening at that time. Nobody was talking about Grease. There wasn't a TV show remake and all this. I'm like, we need to put that in a movie. And Princess Frank happened to be the person that did the opening music, or like the trailer music for The Little House That Could. When I met him when I moved to LA, he was performing in a club, and I said, this guy has star power. I love his music. I want him to do it. So then I cast him in the movie, and I needed him to do a song. They were going to dance on the car to a Billy Joel song. And like a month before, I'm like, I don't have the money to get a Billy Joel song. So I need you to write a song like Billy Joel, but better. You've got a week, record it, and Debra has to sing on it, and you guys have to choreograph it. And Scott's girlfriend at the time was a Raquel Medina. She was a choreographer, so that's how that all came about. So I'm weird when I get in my ways. That will be like, I need a monkey to feed a goat grapes, get it now, but I'm doing it with no money. So but I get in that mode, and it's a lot of times it's like, all right, I need you to write a song, and you're going to dance, and this is going to be a puppet and stuff, and it happens, and it's like and then afterwards I walk away going, was that person even a ventriloquist, or did they sing, or do they act? I didn't even ask them, but sure enough, they did,
Well, and you just have to keep up with him, because can I tell you, when I hit the studio that week, I was freaking out because we had just written the lyrics and I had to go record them. And I said, Frank, I need a couple days with these. Like, I want it to sound good. I don't want it to sound like I'm hesitating. And so luckily he was, graciously got us the studio again a few days later. And because we had enough time, he worked so quickly getting the music down, and his own part. So I was like, yeah, just please let me have a day or two so I can like process like what just happened here. Because we went from like not doing that to doing that, and
yeah, and that's on.
You just got to keep up. That's
that
all.
was for Scumbag, which had a world premiere in 2017 at the International Festival of Rotterdam, and that brings us to the new film Mr. Sister, which is having a world premiere this Sunday night at the famous Chinese Grauman Theater, or aka TCL Chinese 6 Theaters upstairs from Chinese Grauman, and it's for Mr. Sister, and it's the closing night film for the 24th Dances with Films Festival. So that's Sunday, September 12th at 7 p.m. Go to danceswithfilms.com to pick up a ticket before it sells out. But our main actor was a person I scouted over the internet to find out who's the cool new up-and-coming musician kid in New York. And I discovered this band called Uni, spelled U-N-I. And the singer is Jack James Busa. I approached him on the internet, and he became our actor. And I knew he was a great glam rock singer, amazing singer, and he had acting chops as well. And he came in last second. And part of the deal was, I'm like, all right, I need you to sing a song. My great friend passed recently, named Brett Smiley. Brett Smiley in the 70s was supposed to be bigger than Bowie. He had the same manager as the Rolling Stones. What's the name? Alan Oldham, I believe. Or is that a Detroit techno DJ? I always get mixed up. But, you know, the career faded fast and didn't get his big break, but he was on the Russell Hardy show as, you know, the answer to Bowie and stuff at the same time as the glam rock scene. And he has his great song, Space Ace. He was a friend of mine in New York. He passed about a year ago. And I said, I got to make this movie and do a tribute song to him. So I turned to Jack and I'm like, you need to go and record this song. You got the part. We're shooting in 4 days. Tomorrow, go and record a hit song with these guys you've never met. Kenyon Phillips from a band called Unisex Salon, who was a friend of mine from New York. You guys are going to do a great job. Call me when it's done. And he went in and I think he hit out the song in one take. And if anybody hears the song, it's like Freddie Mercury type singing. It's not like a joke. And to do it in one take with these guys he's never met. And that's a big hit song in our film, you know, and they're going to go on. I think it's going to be Jack James Busa and the Pious. They're going to release it. The song is Space Ace. But yeah, I needed somebody with star power that's also an amazing singer, you know, with a band that I believe will go far, you know. And they are getting a lot of press and like Flaunt and stuff. There are a lot of music videos. They're a cool band, you know. And yeah, I met him virtually and said, I need you in this movie. And he happened to have a theater background, going to Paul McCartney's theater school in Liverpool. I didn't even know there was such a thing. He's from Austin. How he ends up in Liverpool going to Paul McCartney's school of acting says he's probably serious about this, you know? And he was. Oh, he's not gonna get to see the world premiere because he's in Paris. But he's gonna be at the Winter Film Awards, International Film Festival, place where Scumbag played in 2018. We're having the East Coast premiere there on Thursday, September 30th at 8:30 p.m. as the closing film for that as well. And then we're going to play in Toronto at a cinema called The Review, which is the oldest running cinema in Toronto on Roncesvalles, 400 Roncesvalles. That's on Saturday, October the 9th. MrSister.com has the details, or you follow us on any social media, especially Facebook. I think I post all the links for the tickets and stuff at Mr. Sister NYC. Yeah.
Awesome. So you've already talked about what's next. You're working with Freeway Rick Ross. Can't talk too much about that yet.
Can't talk too much about it yet. I'm writing the life story with the people involved. The life story is not around, but let's say as far as rappers go, they make Run DMC look like little kids that were young. That's how old school this is. So it's gonna be a exciting adventure. And if all goes well, if I can win that contest, I'll be in New York next March shooting another feature film, you know, a play called Stars about homeless women, you know. Yeah, just excited, you know, just staying busy, you know, during this whole pandemic, even though I have a day job and I've been working from home the entire time.
Wow. So tell me a little bit about like how you got into films, and also how much time have you guys got?
I got until our world premiere, which is Sunday. I think that's 5 days from now. How much memory do you have on your device? Actually, it's a pretty crazy week. I got my producer Kenneth Shaw's coming to stay with us and stuff. So I got into film in the early 90s, like 1990, I believe. I was working with Kenny Baird, assisting Kenny Baird, who was a big art director in Canada, who, you know, he was known for, he designed Pee-wee's Playhouse, the TV show, and he was also worked on early Nine Inch Nails music videos and that, and he became like the go-to music video guy. And the first thing I ever worked on was I was like in props for a Blue Rodeo video. They're a famous Canadian country band, and Mary Margaret O'Hara was on the video, and she liked me because I was this freaky kid with blue hair, and he liked me because he was a punk guy, and I was just this young kid, 17, and I remember like thinking, I never studied art in school. It's not really my thing, but I'm having a whole bunch of people asking me how I should lay the rope down, and I just laid it down. They'd be like, "That's genius." I'm thinking, what? Yeah.
That's
And
awesome.
then I went to film school. I went to York University, just outside of Toronto, and I got to go to film school because I was a valedictorian of my high school. Yeah, that's a whole other story, but it wasn't because I had good grades. It's just because I had a good speech, and I got along with everybody. So in film school, I was not a cinema buff before I went to film school. And even helping my friend on the video, I just needed a job. So that's why I did that. But I always had a lot of ideas. I always had these dreams, and I tell people in the halls my dreams, and they'd either say you're crazy or they'd want to hear about it. I was the guy that wouldn't get my book reports done or my stories for creative writing, and would go up in front of the class and make up an entire story pretending to read something, and then get an A, and then have to ask somebody, what the hell did I say? I have no idea, you know? I will say, in grade 1, I wrote this story that was X-rated for my class about like a substance from the toilet that became a creature and killed half the school. And my teacher gave me an F and was disgusted by me. But I remember after school, everybody in the school needed to hear how that story finished and stuff. Like I had the whole school saying around me as I was reading this story, and I still thought, screw that teacher, that was a great story, but for a kid in grade 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always dreamed freely, and had a lot of interesting ideas. So that's where I kind of excelled in my film school. I ended up being the director on most of the projects, and my friends would help me, and then when I graduated, I got an internship at a music video company called Blackwalk Productions, and I became an editor there. And then I also did every job they had, from catering to being a stand-in. I'm so happy there's not a video out there, but like I was desperate for money, and I stood on a highway naked where a construction site was whistling at me the whole time. It was awful in the wintertime of Canada. And they overexposed the film, and it never became a thing. And I never did any kind of nude modeling stuff after that. And I was like, I was over it. I was covered up, but it was just like, I did everything to help people on films back then. So it's kind of like payback. The world's helping me now, because like this was like early 90s, and then I got working as a PA on commercials where it paid a lot better. And then I worked as a PA for a visual effects company, and that was kind of pre-CGI, like where they actually physically blow stuff up, and if you weren't careful, you explode with it. So I would go and be the guy that sweeps up the explosions and put everything back in a truck and leave. I'd be there all week waiting for an explosion to happen. And then I became Jesse Terrero's first assistant director, and he was a director out in New York who ended up doing all of the 50 Cent videos, and he directed a movie with Snoop Dogg called Soul Plane. And, back in those days, like, this is how I can make feature films today, because people wanted $200,000 looking films shot in film for about $5,000, where my job would be, how can I fit 8 locations in 12 hours and make everybody happy with all their Jeep shots? They always had to have these Jeep shots, and and how can I yell at a neighborhood I'm afraid to go in to be quiet and do what I want them to do on a film set, or it's not going to get done. And I would become like, not a superhero, but I would become 10 times bigger in size than I was like a scotch drinking asshole or something, you know, to make the shots get done. And then I'm able to do that today because I'm like, you know what? I remember shooting a rap video for this band called Ghetto Concept, where they had like 100 guys on set. And right when we called action, the guy pulled out a live handgun and started waving it in front of us on the camera, screaming at us and that. And that was not part of the script, you know? And I'm like, nothing. After that, I was kind of ready for everything, I think, you know?
Did this gun make it into the final video?
Oh yeah, it was on Much Music and everything. I think it was called Precious Metals, but like I learned a lot from those days. And you know, just being in every part of the, like working at the busiest music video company in Canada as an editor back when this is before digital editing was even around, like we were kind of new at it, and you would have to color correct with scopes and all. So I kind of know a bit of everything. So I go into these films going, I hope my crew shows up and I hope the cast show up. But if they don't, I guess I'm gonna have to do everything and be the actor too.
but now do you see why he gets upset if someone doesn't show up?
Yeah.
Does it all make sense, you know?
Yeah, there's a lot that goes on behind it. If I was just a director, and I do have people that help me, but you know, on the indie level, I have to do a lot ahead of time. You know, when we shoot, I have a lot of people helping me, but leading up to the shoot and after the shoot, I usually don't. You know, Eric Ragan's a shoulder I cry on, and he shows up the sets, and he like first ADs and line produces and stuff. But like, yeah, it's like, you know, that's how you get indie films done. It's a lot of work. I went to a Dances with Films lecture, some big producer, and they asked, what's the secret? And he looked at them and said, it's a lot of work. You want to do it, it's a lot of work. You got to do the work. And then there's no secret, you know? And I've heard that before, and I see that, you know? So I'm just doing a lot of work. Eventually I'm going to pass out and somebody might tap me on the shoulder and go, you're in Hollywood now. We got people to help you. Cool. All right. You know, I was just going to sleep for 10 years, you know, I was ready. But until that happens, we just keep going, you know? So then I graduated. I worked in the industry till around 98. I was a grip for IATSE, a temporary grip. I'll never forget how I became a grip. I ran around a swamp. It wasn't a swamp, but a cold river in a forest in Canada during the winter at night, grabbing all this stuff for all these like lazy guys at trucks that were all overpaid. And I said, I have the power of the vampires. I was this goth kid losing my mind, you know, and they're like, we need a guy like that. So they signed me up for the union, and they said, we need you because you know how to roll, right? And I thought, what does roll mean? I don't know what roll means. And then I went to the front of the truck, and there was like all this like weed in the wanted me to roll joints for him. I'm like, I don't roll joints, but I guess that's why he hired me, you know? So he got that's how he got in the union. This guy thought I could roll joints for him. And I was like, I can't, you know, but like, I'm in it now, you know, thanks, you know? Yes. So I learned a lot of things leading up to it. And then I also kind of got burnt out because if you're on set all the time with those long hours, it becomes a construction site more than the artistic side. So I just kind of left, and I pursued playing in bands and DJing in New York for 10 years. And I didn't really do too much other than get back into editing and make like, we were a multimedia group called Rise NYC, and I made all the visuals that projected behind us. And that was dance music. So our dance beats were in the DVDs projected. So I'd make these DVDs all the time. And not a lot of people knew all the work that went into that. And that got me back into editing. And then Patricia Field, working at her store as a stylist, I learned about wardrobe styling. They needed something edited for a party. I did it, and they were so happy with the job. Some talk came to talk, and next thing you know, I'm making a documentary for the next 6 years about that store, because nobody had any. There were all these stories. Everybody kept passing away. Nobody. I felt like I owed it to society to make this thing. You know, I'm not going to slag them, but you know, I was tipped off about another movie that's coming out like this week that totally took everything I did for a part of that movie. But you know, all to them. I'm not going to hate on anybody. I hope it does it. I hope it makes you money. It didn't make me money. I didn't do it for money though. I did it for love. That's why I shot with many DV tapes and SD and put everybody in it. And you know, I'm already on the 3rd project since then, and aiming for my 5th project down the road. So you know, I welcome anybody that wants to make a movie, and all to you, go out and do it. It's a lot of work, you know. It's easy to talk about it, but when you're doing it, and then if you make it to the post stages and you're dealing with all the crooked distributors and stuff that are out there, you know, and having to weed your way and sleep at things like American Film Market and find out who's crazy and who's real and stuff, then you're on your way to doing this independent thing. You know, if you survive, I'd say 2 films and you want to keep doing it, you're in. You know, this is for you.
And I feel like people don't understand digital streaming of movies it's, you know, the payout is about the same as if you sell music, right? Like, you know how the musicians are complaining about Spotify, like you get like 0.0 something 00 cent or something like that. People don't realize, like, streaming movies, it's not like you get a big cut of it.
If they tell you,
know,
if they tell you the proper numbers too, you know, they don't always do that.
Right. If you have distribution, you have no way of knowing what they've logged. So they could just say, oh no, it didn't do very good. You know, and you'll never, unless you pay a lawyer to audit them or an accountant. Yeah,
I'm learning more and more, but like basically where there's a will, there's a way. If you want to do this, you're going to figure out who's the real people, who's not. You're going to figure out how to do this, even if you're doing it yourself, you're putting it out yourself, whatever. And, you know, for me, I expected, you know, I lost some money already, you know, but we keep going at it. It's not like, you know, we don't have kids, so this is our kids. You know, we go out and we make another film. You know,
and we don't live out of our means. We don't have like crazy. You know, we're artists. Artists make art. That's what we do. So.
Yep. So how can people watch Mr. Sister?
So right now, it's playing at Dances with Films at the TCL Chinese Theaters in Hollywood next Sunday, September 12th at 7 p.m. You can go to danceswithfilms.com, buy a ticket. We're playing in New York City at Winter Film Awards International Film Festival on Thursday, September the 30th at 8:30 p.m. Go to winterfilmawards.com. And then we're playing in Toronto at the Review on Saturday, October the 9th at 7 p.m. And you just look for there's an Eventbrite for the Canadian premiere of Mr. Sister. That's a web service. You can buy tickets there, or follow us on Facebook at Mr. Sister NYC. So that's where we're playing. I don't really have plans for any other film festivals. I'm working with Arsenal Pictures, our sales agent. Hopefully we can get some theatrical deals in Europe. I know we're talking to England right now, and we're also, you know, talking to American companies for distribution and stuff. But, you know, I don't have much more information on that. I think we're just all waiting to see how this world premiere goes first, because nobody's seen the film, not even the cast yet. Nobody has seen the film, not even the cast.
Wow.
Yeah, I just didn't want to do the virtual thing, you know. But follow Mr. Sister NYC.com, and if it becomes available for streaming and stuff, it will be listed there. The other films, Scumbag, it's on most North American platforms. You can, everything from Fandango to, you can watch it for free at Tubi.tv if you're in North America, you know, or go to iTunes or whatever. For Europe, it was playing in UK theaters by going to rscreen.com. It's a cinema by demand platform. It's kind of like organizing a birthday party. You go on this platform and you say, I want to see Scumbag at the Piccadilly in London, and at the View at the Piccadilly Circus in London or whatever. And then you have to pre-sell like, I don't know, 20 tickets with your friends. And if you do, then it happens on the day that you want. Otherwise, everybody gets refunded. I'm not sure if they're fully back in action. Our screen, they turned into a streaming platform, but we're not part of the streaming platform. Well, all the, you know, the Delta variants are in England, and they're not like having many theaters open yet, I don't think. But as soon as it opens, yes, you can see it there. And Little House That Could, it's on a streaming platform that you can see for free called Mainstream Media Unplugged. You go to msmu.me, and you know, I think /play/ 1080 is the actual thing. So msmu.me/play/1080. You'll see a screen. Use Google Chrome. It will refresh the screen, hit the play button. It's a portal with it looks like a weird VHS thing, and it will start playing. You can watch the whole film for free there. And yeah, that's and it's also on Out TV now, the Out TV app in the Netherlands. So anybody in the Netherlands can watch it. Just got to get Out TV free app for your iPhone or Android, and you can watch it there.
Okay, so one thing, this interview kind of begs the question: what advice do you have for aspiring filmmakers?
If you want to do it, don't think about what people want to hear. Don't copy what's going on out there. F shit up, like be yourself, think your own, come up with your own ideas from stuff you see yourself. You might have a different way of seeing things. I'd rather hear your idea of what a wall is than another version of your Star Wars or another version of Tarantino's film or another version of Scorsese's films. If you don't know gangsters, don't write about gangsters. Be like me and go hang out with them.
Yeah.
Be like me and hang out with them.
You want to write about them.
Stories that are original. I got gangster stories too from guys in New Jersey. I'll make one day. I have stories on the real Jesse James. I have friends that are related, like relatives, living relatives. I've got direct stories on Bruce Lee nobody has, because I have people that were friends of Bruce Lee, like in my life. Like I go out of my way to do my own research. And that's what I'd say if you were a filmmaker. And a filmmaker, I think, should be a writer, not just a director. Be the writer too. Come up with your own ideas, and get out there. And those writers, take a film class, learn how to make the movie. Don't wait on some director that doesn't understand your idea. Go and make your movie. If you're making it bad, you're going to get better. You'll know when the audience is booing or whatever. Okay, I got to fix this next time, and don't give up. Get ready to, I've had people really close to me, not like my films, I won't say who they are, but I was like, all right, well, if somebody else doesn't like it, it means nothing, because wow, that person that person's supposed to say they like no matter what I do, but get a hard shell and make it an extension of yourself. Because like for me, if people like it or don't like it, I know it's 100% what was in my head. I can't tell you what's in my head is good or bad. I'd be like censoring myself. It's my way. My audience is my shrink. I sit there and I see them. I have them make sense. Sometimes people come up with these great analogies about what happened and stuff, and I think, wow, that's really good. Is that what I meant? I'm going to go with that. Why not?
I do that. Like when Debra, when you were talking about like hearing music in your head when you're sleeping, like I do that too. And I heard a great guitar player, Steve Vai. He talked about, he would get these songs just out of nowhere. Like he was kind of like a channel, like Eddie Van Halen, like Led Zeppelin. They said Stairway to Heaven. He said like the song kind of wrote itself through the pen on the paper, And when I write songs, that happens to me too. And I'm also writing a book right now. It's a novel. It's a love story. And that's for another podcast. But it comes in like these almost like memories, right? And it's kind of a rush to write it down before I forget, right? And so I wrote some songs during the pandemic. I wrote a breakup song. It's funny because my relationship's going great, but a lot of people around me broke up during the pandemic. And so I wrote a song called How It Goes, and I'll put this in the podcast sometime. But I didn't let's see, how can I say this? I don't talk exactly about what the song was written about, and I let people fill in the blanks for themselves. It kind of sounds like that's kind of what you do too. Like
that's the best way. I let people like they can. I've had like reviewers had seen Mr. Sister, and they both come up with completely different ideas of what happened. I'm like, that's fine. The Scumbag too. It's like you can have. I like to keep it as here is an art figure it out. Your perception's your idea. You know, I'm not going to say your perception's wrong. You know, it's there for different perceptions. That's what I like. I don't like the films that spell it out all the time and say, this is how you have to think. I have a problem with a lot of documentaries that pretend they're not one-sided, and they so are. And I also hate the documentaries where they just like are secretly destroying their subject matter. I'm like, man, really? This is what you spend all your time doing, to destroy somebody? I don't know. There could be better things to do, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, let's build stuff. Everyone's so about tearing stuff down now. You know, it's let's build something. That's what art is. And to me, you can really get into someone's psychology too, based off of what they project into the film, or what they project into a song that you write, or whatever. Like, and sometimes that projection is just so far out there, you know. And it's like, you thought they were doing this to make you you upset or whatever. It's like, no, like this is so it's interesting to see like where people are at psychologically too, as an artist, to see and take that in.
Yeah, there's a feel good thing in all my films, even though I try to hide it with like the craziness and stuff, because, you know, I think making Spooky Rubin, who was in Scumbag, once told me he thinks the hardest type of music is to write a catchy pop song where people feel good about himself. And this is a guy that had a death metal background, was very technically proficient, you know. And I think the same thing is with film. It's hard to make a feel good movie. Like I can name one TV show that you leave feeling positive after you watch it. Every other show is like some negative Satan show or something, you know. It's not that there's a problem with negative. I think back in the day it was like a rare, cool thing to be negative. Now it's so common. It's like so hard to find the one little thing that's positive out there, you know. And I'm not saying, oh, it all has to be hunky-dory phony. I'm like, no, I try to secretly put it in my negative looking films, and there's always a positive message, because I want people to feel good, or feel like, hey, I think I got what he was trying to do, you know.
I noticed that too, like the you know, doo-wop music, my parents' age, you know, the twist and the, you know, all that different stuff. It was so happy. And then somewhere around, you know, there was like the
Pink Floyd. Somewhere around Pink Floyd, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe that might have been the tipping point. But like the 80s, there was like the hair metal, and, you know, 70s was the disco, and then 90s was grunge. And for some reason, pop music kind of took a negative turn for me. Like I turned on the radio and it was all like, you know, I hate you, you broke my heart, you're a loser, you know. And so I stopped listening to the radio, and I started making music that I wanted to hear. And honestly, this may sound totally narcissistic, but my playlist is my music.
That's awesome. Yeah, you know, what was it? I saw an interview a while ago, an old interview with David Lee Roth when he was in Van Halen, and he said when he does shows, he loves to book. Why can't I think of their name right now? Oh my God. Kool and the Gang as the opening act, because who doesn't have fun listening to Kool and the Gang at a wedding, you know? And I don't know if that was true, but I thought that was cool. He's like, why would I want a competing rock band to open? I want people to have fun before we come on. And that was like his choice of what he wanted to open up for Van Halen was Kool and the Gang. And I thought that was cool.
And it's great music. You know, I don't think it matters. You know, they say some of the best lullabies can be played as heavy metal, right?
Yeah.
I think there's a total YouTube genre. If you go down the rabbit hole, they take all the lullabies and play them heavy metal. And, you know, people make fun of elevator music, but if you hear Stairway to Heaven in the elevator, you know it's Stairway to Heaven, right? If you hear a really good,
I think elevator music today is maybe called Billie Eilish, who I like. But like, let's take her vocals out and listen to how mellow the music is.
Yeah.
It's no different than Muzak a long time ago. And, you know, there's all these chill out ambient radio stations and stuff. I think they call it chill music and stuff. I'm like, that's equivalent to elevator music, you know?
Well, but then even like lyrically, it's all very sad though, right? Like it's like very like you said, and so with my personal music that I just did, I started trying to write about like weird little things that no one has written about in that manner before.
Tell us about the song. It's sorry, I'm blanking on the title here, but something
Sad,
like,
sad vampire.
yes.
Yeah, let's just, before we even say that, like, we were so excited about Sad Sad Vampire. We actually started an all vinyl record label to kind of go against the norm. And yeah, we're sitting on a whole house filled of records right now, for 2 releases, and one is
sitting on
her album.
stacks of records right now.
Yeah, you could go to
that's right.
World Domination.pictures and click on the records, World Domination Records there, and you can actually, we'll ship records anywhere in the world. And if you're new school, we sell MP3s there too, but we got 2 releases.
And
So
you own all the rights to the music? Sorry, do you own all the rights to the music?
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, good. Because, like, you know, Frank Zappa did that. The Grateful Dead did that. Steve Vai did that. And Steve Vai is not a big radio personality, but
Steve Vai.
but he's a very wealthy musician because he owns all the rights to everything. Dr. Phil owns the rights to his own TV show. He's very wealthy. And I know, like, for you guys, it's about the art, you know, but it's nice to make money too. You know?
Well, yeah, that's kind of where we're like at with everything, right? It's like
so we're releasing her music, but we're also releasing old bands of mine like Rise NYC, which was a band I had in New York for a good 7 years, you know, that played a lot of the same circuits as Lady Gaga and the Scissor Sisters and so on. We were in the same like things, same places. And, you know, I'm releasing remixes famous musicians did of my projects, like Genesis, Peorage, and Psychic TV. I did it because Genesis passed, you know, of leukemia not too long ago. And this is, you know, one of the inventors of electronic music, more or less, you know, and I thought the world needs to hear this. So, you know, The Majesty's remix of Rise NYC's on one side. Then I got David J from Bauhaus and Love and Rockets remixing another band of mine, Binary Star System, on the other side. So my deal is, when remixers work with me as an art, we split everything 50-50. So it's like, I didn't do my releases to make any money except basically put out an album, and they all know, hey, what are we going to make, $100 each if we sell out, if we're lucky, you know? So it's like, it's more like I just wanted to do it as a respect. And to me, it wasn't about putting out MP3s, but here's a nice vinyl album that's people like will hold in their house and look at. And, you know, mine has a tribute to Genesis Peorage in it, you know, and hers, you know, I'll let you.
Oh, okay. So we'll go back a hair when you asked about Sad Sad Vampire.
Yes.
That is actually a pattern interrupt song. And so it starts out very mellow, like almost melancholy in a way. Well, not compared to maybe today's standards of some of the music, but that was on purpose. And then there's a shift that happens, and then that's the pattern interrupt. Right? So it snaps you out of that state, that previous like negative state. So it's jarring on purpose. Because he used to call me Sad Vampire at night because I would get kind of depressed like every single night. And he was like, oh, you're just Sad Vampire. You're Sad Vampire. And I thought, I'm going to write a song about that. And then I wanted that shift because something had happened and I had to go somewhere and dance or something. I can't remember what it was. Like we went out somewhere and we were dancing and I instantly felt better. Right. And I noticed that feeling, like I was like, wow, like I'm always down in the dumps at night, like feeling bad. But then if I go somewhere, you know, physically do physical activity, go out somewhere and dance, that gave me the idea for that. And then later, so I wrote the song, then I later learned that that's called pattern interrupt, basically, because you're in one mode and you choose to stand up and do something else, like exercise or whatever it is. And so, but that's it's NLP, neuro linguistic programming. I think that's part of it. Okay. And so I kind of happened across that after that whole realization, and then it just solidified it even more. It's like, oh, okay, if I'm feeling down, I need to get up off the couch. You know, and I wanted people to have that after this pandemic, all of these things, like you need to get up off the couch. And that song, I need to verify this and look it up, but I felt like this kind of inspired some of my other songs. Ring Around the Rosie was actually about like the plague. And so, but it's a kid's song, and it's like, it's almost like there's, so my songs, like there's darkness to them because there's reality, right? But then there's also this motivating factor to get you to move.
And I just got to
dance.
put in there that her music project is called Skunk in the Roses, and she has a different persona of Skunk in the Roses. And you know, from an outside, if we're not playing the music video here right now, I would say, because I've been a DJ most of my life, like for 30 years, and playing all the big clubs and stuff. If I were to say what kind of music she does, it's like, it's fun dance music, New York style, like house music meets swing music. So it sounds like 90s, 80s delight, like Ruiz in the Heart kind of vibe, meets Betty Boop vocals and swing music, and there's skits and stuff. So it's like fun dance music that also, you know, is very DJ oriented. It's not like DJs will want to play those beats, you know.
And a lot of them, there is like a weird little breakdown in them, and that inadvertently is another pattern interrupt. Right. So it's, I didn't even, that was not even on purpose. It was how they started to lay out. And I was hearing them in my head because I do it electronically. So I use a lot of loops and things like that. And it just, that was how it came out. And I have the song Makeup Murders. It's basically, it goes through different time periods, like 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. And it's basically about how, like, over the centuries, women's makeup, there's been times when it's been toxic and things like that. And so the scenarios are a little dramatic. Like one, you know, the 55, she was blinded because she had her makeup ran in her eye. And so she got hit by a car because she couldn't see. And so, but it's really, I feel like people that would listen to it, they might not even hear it so darkly, you know, because it's dance music and it's fun. And it's like, or like, I have, what is it? Catch Me If You Can. It's kind of, it's basically the fashion police kind of, but it lays out kind of like old school, like, you're not gonna get me, copper, you know, like the 40s, you know. So it's it's all there, it's layered. Everything I've done is layered. So even if it sounds like cute at first, there's really so much to pull back in what I was trying to do with it, or just like you said, what I was receiving in to do. So it's very layered. Yeah.
So the record label is World Domination Records, and that's on the worlddomination.pictures website. .pictures is a .com now, like there's a .pictures. And you know, the single for her album, which her album is Rabid Perfume, but the single is Sad Sad Vampire, and that's the song that's actually sung and performed by her in the movie Mr. Sister as Marie, the character Marie. And the music video, which you can search on YouTube, Sad Sad Vampire by Skunk and the Roses, has nothing but footage from our movie. So if you're going to see a lot more footage than the trailer. And you know, she has a single coming out for it next, and that's it contains remixes by Din from Toronto, who's a big electronic artist that hasn't done anything in a long time, so it's going to be a big welcoming to the world because he has a huge cult following. And he was also the keyboardist for Digital Poodle back in the day, which is an industrial band. And there's a great, almost like a reggae dub remix of the song by a group from London called Mantra Move, which features Kazi K from the band Ragged which was on Virgin Records. It features, you know, it features Nick Turner from the space rock band Hawkwind, and it features who else? Oh, Youth from Killing Joke, who works with Paul McCartney. He's also involved in the remix like group. So it's going to be a fun thing. And she's performing after our screening in New York at a bar called Lucky. We're having an after party at Lucky If you're lucky enough to be in New York, then come to Lucky, which is on Avenue B between 10th and 11th. It will probably start around 11:30 p.m. If you're in LA and you're watching this, you might want to come to our secret after party for the world premiere of Mr. Sister at the Abbey on Robertson at around 11:30 midnight. That's on Sunday. It's technically Monday morning. And then in Toronto, I don't know if we're going to have an after party yet. We're working on it. Toronto's taken a long time to reopen up. I don't even think it's fully open. So even our screening there is only half capacity. In LA, you don't need to show proof of vaccination to come to our screening right now. But in New York, you do, and you need both shots for anything. And then Toronto, you need proof of vaccination for both shots as well to go into the movie theater, and it's only half capacity. So yeah. Did I cut you? Oh yeah. So one thing I was going to say. Are you there?
I'm there. I'm here.
Okay. Where our phone is about to die. If we disappear, okay. That's what happened. I want to say that if you buy her album, she actually goes out of her way and writes longhand to the fans. And like for me, I hear the music as like catchy dance music. For her, it's a bigger system than that, where she'll be like, okay, in the first 20 seconds, I want you to think of all the sadness that you're going through. And then at around the 32nd point, when it goes big, you're going to release that and you're going to scream. Like it's a whole like thing. I'm like, wow, this is like meditation I've never heard about, you know? Like,
well, and even in the song lyrics, it's like, it's let those little demons out. It was supposed to be like someone that's like exercising your demons, right? That's exactly how I heard it in my head. It was like, that's why, like, even how I sing it is like that. It's actually hard to duplicate it live. Like, I was like, wow, I'm really gonna have to, because it's your throat when you yell like that. Let those little demons out. Yeah. Like it's not just, oh, I'm singing all beautifully through the whole. It's like I really want people to have an experience where like they get rid of the garbage that they have, all their mental garbage. So that's what I hope to bring forth in like live shows. And they can use the song on their own, of course, but I want to have people feel and to get rid of, this last year and a half, however long it's been very hard on people, and everyone I know has had something bad happen, and just to give them a moment where it's like, and I don't deny the darkness. Even the lyrics has like, it's very like depthful and stuff like that. Like picture wise, or big picture wise, but I still want them to like get rid of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So even if you don't like dance music, you might need your life saved. So just come to one of her shows or buy her album, and it might help you get the secret notes from her, and the other thing is she's done a couple other music videos before the Sad Vampire. She not only dances and sings, but she's an animator, but she does old school 2D, 3D animation where you need the 3D glasses. I went to film school. I still don't know how she does that, but there's a couple videos on YouTube. I think one's called Cage, and what's the other one called?
I Bleed Glitter.
Yeah, and those you need 3D glasses to watch them, and it'll be 3D animation, like Victorian 3D animation. Wow. So I appreciate you talking to us all the way from Japan, Tracy. Yeah, and
good to catch up.
It's 9:00 here at night, and it's noon the next day. Yep. How's tomorrow going to be? Is it going to be a good day tomorrow?
Tuesday is an awesome day.
Oh, good. I can't wait.
So you were saying your phone is about to die. Should we wrap up?
I think it's about to die. We should probably wrap it up. Guys. And as I've been talking to you, I've been doing laundry downstairs, and I got to grab that.
Awesome. Well, hey, I really appreciate you guys doing this. I will, get this, wrapped up and put on YouTube. And then later on, probably in the future, it's going to be on like iTunes or Spotify or something like that. But
awesome.
Now it's going to be YouTube. And those of you, watching this, really appreciate you watching this. Go see the film, and then I'll put some stuff in the description. See below. And Mars has already sent me some stuff, like all the social media. Once again, social media at Mr. Sister NYC.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. All right, guys. Really appreciate it. And then the cat too. The cat came by earlier. What's the cat's name?
Sorry? Phoenix. I think she's down here doing something to the backdrop too. They love those backdrops.
I saw New York moving there.
New York was swaying, yes. Hurricane Phoenix.
We were having an earthquake in Tokyo or something, but or maybe too much coffee. I don't know. So, all right, guys, really appreciate you. Let's do this again. I can't wait to hear more about your next film when you're able to talk about that. So we'll wrap it up, and thank you. And thanks everybody for watching. Go watch the film.
Thanks, Tracy. Thanks, Weekly Fascination.
Bye, guys.
Bye.